Well, I'd like to welcome Russell Alt, CEO of Legacy Virtual, a company that provides highly trained virtual assistants to businesses. Russell, welcome and thanks for joining us today.
Thank you. I appreciate the opportunity to spend some time with you.
Well, I want to get right into it. Can you tell us how did Legacy Virtual get to where it is today?
Yeah, absolutely. Simply unbridled passion for world-class service through world-class people. We saw a need in the marketplace for virtual assistants, or some people call them virtual employees, a remote workforce. The right just at the right time, and so we dove in and we filled that need.
Well, that's great. We actually had dabbled in virtual assistants years ago when we had our first cleaning company. Then we started another a virtual assistant company where Gene was actually training virtual assistants that wanted to become certified. Which we thought, well, that's a good idea. That's very important. Um, could you explain what a virtual assistant is for the viewers that haven't heard of a VA or a virtual assistant?
Yeah, sure. Just simply a virtual assistant is just another employee that's not occupying the same physical space that you are, right? And so they're highly skilled. They're as skilled as you want them to be, as educated as you want them to be. Legacy Virtual, we recruit specifically to our clients' needs, and so if they need a certain degree or a certain skill set, or maybe there's a software that they need experience in, then we'll go to market and we'll find that for the client. And so it's 2020, right? No one's going to forget that it's 2020, right? And so
Right, right. That's for
um,
sure.
if you're in a physical office, and I've done this myself with my own managers, in our office. If you're in a physical office and you're sitting at your desk, you're in the throes of the day, right? You're busy, you're working on something, you're firing off a few emails. You have one of your managers or one of your employees 50 feet from you, right down the hall. Chances are you're probably just going to text them or use some type of messaging service. There's plenty out there, or shoot them a quick note rather than stand up and just go talk to them and sit down, and have a conversation. That's that's no different than what you would do with your virtual assistant, right? And so again, virtual assistants, virtual employees, remote workers, they're your employees that have a specific role within your organization that they just don't occupy the same space as you. And I think in today's environment, everybody is aware of remote workers.
Yes, yeah, definitely, definitely. If they weren't, they are now.
That's right.
Yeah. Well, that's fantastic. So what you're saying is that these virtual assistants can be highly trained in specific areas then. So if I
Mhm.
wanted to hire somebody to help create a website or do some help me with marketing, things like that, that's what I could use them for?
That's right. That's right. They can be as highly skilled as a certified public accountant, or they can just answer phone calls all day long. We have many clients whose call volume is has just skyrocketed, and they have us just answering their phones and just kind of connecting the dots for them. And then we have clients that need help in accounting, customer service. It really, I like to say if they're not physically building a house or swinging a hammer, then really the role can be done virtually.
Oh, great. So what other types of services could a VA perform? You mentioned a few, but what are some of the ones that are most common that you come across?
Yeah, so some of the most common that we've seen are inbound, outbound calls, sales development representatives, because that using a VA for sales development is so cost effective, and a lot of the tasks that sales development reps do are so repetitive that it just makes sense for a virtual assistant to do that. So you have sales development, call center management, bookkeeping, social media moderation, building websites, managing vendors. You know, gosh, that's a good, good mix of what we've seen.
Okay, good. And what types of companies or businesses use your services?
Typically, it's the the small to medium sized business, and so for years, your larger organizations have had access to what we do, and we're bringing the success that your larger companies have found through virtual assistants or process outsourcing down to the small to medium sized organization that typically wouldn't have the resources to accomplish those same
Mhm.
things. And so, we've seen anywhere from just the solo entrepreneur that they're not ready to hire someone yet, but they need more time in their day, and so a virtual assistant's perfect for that person. So the solo entrepreneur to the growing company that has anywhere between 1 to 50 to sometimes even 100 employees already, but they don't want to add any more, so to say. So a virtual assistant is a great complement to their already existing team.
Yeah, that makes good sense. One of the things that, I talk to a lot of cleaning business owners every month. And one of the things when this subject does come up, the people that do understand how to use virtual assistants, is that they sometimes will say that there's a language barrier that occurs. Uh, how do you guys overcome that?
That's a great question. It's the number one question that we get as well. Uh, all of our interviews are done in English, right? And so we only accept resumes in English. We only do our verbal interviews in English. And we have both written and verbal proficiency exams that we give. And then so some organizations they'll tell the client and say, hey, this is your virtual assistant that you're going to use. Legacy Virtual is a little bit different in that we have the client do a final interview. And so for every one position that we recruit for, we may source between 20 to 30, sometimes even more candidates. And then we take the top two, sometimes three, and we put them in front of the client to do a final interview. This gives the client a sense of comfort because then they're getting to engage and they're getting to see the English proficiency. Sometimes they trade emails back and forth just to see, especially if it's a client facing role, because they want the English to be great. And so we go to great lengths. It's our number one factor that we screen for is English. And if they pass us and then they get to the client, the final interview, then you can bet that their English is phenomenal.
Yeah, well, that's great. That's a good process that you have there to verify that. Could you explain your consulting services? When I was on your website, I seen that, and you're offering some consulting services. What exactly is that?
Yeah, so a lot of our smaller business clients, they need extra help. They need a neutral kind of set of eyes to come in and see, hey, are there processes that they're currently in place or they're working, or maybe there's just a gaping hole where there should be a process. A lot of people they get so caught up in the day to day, and they get so caught up working in the business that they're not aware of their blind spots that they have, and so we come in and we help turn that puzzle into a process, so to speak. And we look at things like, hey, is your team on board? Do they know the mission of the organization? Is everyone rowing in the same direction? Do you have KPIs? Do you have a scorecard? Are you measuring the important things? We believe that if you want to see something improve, then you start tracking it. And once you start tracking it, you're going to be focused on it, and then that item is going to get it's going to get better. And so we come in as like I said, the neutral party, and we help companies kind of get to where they want to be from a process perspective.
Okay, great. That's great. So, if you probably get this phone call a lot to where somebody that's just not familiar with VAs, but what advice would you give a person that has never hired a VA before?
Without a doubt, the best piece of advice I can give is don't do it alone. There's so many intricacies in managing a remote workforce, and so from hiring to making sure that they have the skill set that you want them to have, and then frankly making sure that they show up to work. And then so a lot of our clients have tried to do this on their own, but then they just, for whatever reason, the virtual assistant quit showing up and they can't track them down. And then they got to start this process of hiring all over again. Because if you've made the decision to hire a virtual assistant, you need one. And so that role needs to be filled. And so what Legacy Virtual does is we manage that process, from cradle to grave. And so we go and find somebody for you. We screen, we put them in front of you for a final interview. And then we also help you manage them. So we never leave anyone off on an island. And so we're not just a placement service. We're a quality outcome service as well, because we make sure that whatever it is that you want your virtual assistant to do, then they do it every day. And so, the propensity for a virtual assistant that we employ and that we manage on behalf of our clients, the propensity for them to quit showing up is much lower than if you were to go off on your own. And then so when you find a service provider, make sure that you trust them, make sure, because they're essentially a partner in your business. Any vendor that you're using is a partner in your business. So make sure that you trust them, make sure that your values align, make sure that, you both have common goals. Something I tell my team all the time is, we are far more concerned with long-lasting relationships over short-term transactions. And so, we want to make sure that our clients feel the same way, and it's a two-way street.
Yeah, that's for sure. Well, because the customer, after all, they're looking for outcomes, and that's what's important to them. So you guys check the box on that too. That's great. So when I was looking at your website, I also noticed that Legacy Virtual offers different packages. Can you tell us a little bit about those packages?
Sure. So we offer part-time virtual assistants that are anywhere from 20 hours a week and above, and then full-time virtual assistants, which are typical 40 hours a week, and also the consulting services. And the consulting is really tailored. We're doing a lot of virtual now. If the client would rather just be a Zoom conversation like what we're having now, and we talk with the client and then the client's team, then we'll do that. Or we're also doing in-person things as well. That's starting to pick back up. So the virtual assistant is a little bit more standard in the part-time or full-time, but it's also it's tailored also to the client's business, whereas the consulting is just 100% tailored. It's whatever the client needs.
Okay, great. Can you tell our viewers, how they can contact you, or your website address?
Yeah, so the easiest way to contact us is info@legacy-virtual.com. I'm sure we'll leave all this in the comments of the video as well. And then my personal cell, I love when people just call me on my cell, is 901-486-0063. And again, info@legacy-virtual.com or 901-486-0063.
Oh, great. Well, hopefully you'll get some phone calls.
Yeah, we love to help people.